Well, hello and welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us today as we continue our chronological read through of the Bible. Today and tomorrow, we're going to read King Solomon's book that is titled Ecclesiastes. For many, it's hard to understand why the Holy Spirit inspired Solomon to write this book and then guided the formation of the Bible in such a way that it is included. Dr. Bullhagen, whose commentary we will be relying on for the next 2 days, notes Ecclesiastes has long been considered a difficult, profound, yet mysterious book. We find that this particular book is theologically challenging because at the same time it seems cynical and skeptical, even as it sprouts positive and joyful statements about faith. It says things, basically you get contrasts like this. Life is unfair, but you should be fair. Life is meaningless, but you should, but you should enjoy it. Wisdom is futile, but seek it and be wise. Life has no order, but you should order your life around piety. Life happens haphazardly, but you should take up your assigned position. See, the book is full of conundrums, and it can be so dark. But is that not always the case when we put ourselves in charge of our lives and our salvation? In other words, when we decide to do what only God can do, things get very dark. We are in no way equal to God. Only God can give meaning and bring salvation. Ecclesiastes is for sure a call to faith. When everything else is said and done, when all options have been exhausted, one thing remains. To fear God is the beginning and the end of all wisdom. And remember, Jesus Christ is wisdom. I wish that I could give you an outline to guide your reading of the book. I mean, the book does have an introduction, the first two chapters, which give a summary of the book, more or less, and there's a conclusion, the last 6 verses, which kind of give you the bottom line. But the middle, it's probably best described as a string of individual pearls of wisdom strung together to form a necklace, each one of them valuable, but none truly dependent on the other. It'll remind you a lot of reading the book of Proverbs. King Solomon, the wisest of all men other than Jesus himself, took it upon himself to search for meaning in life on this earth. His methods, they were exhaustive, and you'll find out at the end of the book that they're exhausting as well. And his findings are in. What he has expected from the beginning turns out it's true. Everything about our life on earth without God is vanity. All of chapter 1 and all of the last 3 verses of chapter 2 lay that out for us. So what are we supposed to do? Well, really, it's very clear. Keep it simple. Trust in God. This is what life is all about. Kind of reminds you of the first days of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, before sin came into the picture, doesn't it? Chapters 3 through 6 take us through a number of pearls, I guess. These pearls address the question of how a child of God is to find their way from day to day in a world tainted by sin. We'll read Solomon's famous words about a time and place for everything. We will hear Solomon wonder if the life of man is really any different than the life of cattle. After all, we both die in the end. Solomon speaks of the hopelessness of the oppressed and the futility of making one's work, which is a blessing from God, the most important thing in our life. He speaks of the value of companionship and the danger and loneliness of a solitary life. Now, by the way, don't mistake Solomon's point. Don't mistake Solomon's point as talking about an unmarried life. An unmarried life is by no means the same thing as a solitary life. One can live a solitary life, whether they're married, unmarried, in a group of people, or completely alone on an island. We hear Solomon reflecting on the temporary nature of life and possibly even repenting on the excesses of his younger life. Solomon encourages us to use our words sparingly and in a manner that fears and worships God. He seems to view government as a necessary evil, and he clearly points out the emptiness of riches before making what is really the point of the whole book. The true wisdom is the fear of God. And to fear God means that we turn to God when we're overwhelmed by this mixed up world that we live in. That's Solomon's bottom line. We fear God, and we do that by turning to him when we're overwhelmed by the mixed up world we're living in. And actually, you don't have to wait until you're overwhelmed. You can turn to God all of the time. Well, may God be with you and bless you. I pray that your reading will continue to help you to grow. I look forward to reading with you or talking with you again tomorrow.